Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Matthew Henman and I'm the Associate Director of Jane's Terrorism and Insurgency Centre at IHS Markit. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this online intelligence briefing. Today my JTIC colleagues and I will present a session entitled Global Terrorism and Insurgency Trends 2017. The IHS Jane's Intelligence Briefing Programme will consist of approximately 40 events during 2017 and is available to all customers of Jane's Intelligence Centre and module products, including the market forecast products. Before we begin, I've got a few technical housekeeping points to help you get the most from this event. The slides from today's briefing and the audio recording will be available to download from the IHS Jane's customer area from tomorrow. You can also save a PDF copy of these slides during today's session by navigating through the menu tools at the top of your screen. We encourage you all to ask questions during the presentation. To do this, use the Q&A or chat boxes on the right side of your screen, and please select the All Panelists option from the chat box drop-down menu. Your questions will be put to presenters at the end of the session, and any questions we don't get around to answering during the event will be addressed by our analysts after the briefing via direct email. When you logged into this seminar, you were automatically connected to the audio using your device's speakers. If you prefer to listen to the audio via the telephone, please click the telephone icon found on the right of your screen and follow the instructions which pop up. You should turn down the volume of your device's speakers if you wish to listen via the phone to eliminate any echo. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my introduction, but just before I hand over to our first presenter, I'd like to highlight that the information used to compile today's presentation has been drawn from a variety of Jane's content, but particularly from Jane's Terrorism and Insurgency Centre. I'll now hand over to Kelly, who will present on top-level trends across the past 12 months.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll begin this seminar by briefly examining worldwide trends and operations by non-state armed groups over the preceding 12 months, covering the period October 2016 to September 2017. JTIC recorded more than 25,000 attacks by non-state armed groups from open sources in this 12-month period, which resulted in more than 20,000 non-militant fatalities. This represented an 18% increase from the almost 21,500 attacks recorded in the preceding 12-month period, a significant decrease of 22% from over 26,000 non-militant fatalities. A substantial portion of this decrease in fatalities can be attributed to Iraq and Syria, where the recorded number of non-militant fatalities decreased by over 2,700 and almost 2,000 respectively. This decrease can most likely be contributed to the changing nature of the militant campaigns in the two countries. Over the past 12 months, JTIC recorded attacks by non-state armed groups in more than 100 countries worldwide. Displayed geospatially, the data shows a heavy concentration of these attacks in the Middle East and North Africa, and perhaps unsurprisingly, particularly in Iraq and Syria. Elsewhere, there were notable concentrations of violence in South Asia, centered on Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as in East and Northeast India and Bangladesh. There was an additional band of attacks across Central Africa, from Nigeria in the west to Somalia in the east. Syria, Ukraine, and Iraq continue to dominate proceedings in the top 10 countries by recorded number of attacks, accounting for almost 2/3 of attacks worldwide. Syria alone makes up 38% of these attacks worldwide. Yemen rose from 6th to 4th place with over 400 more attacks recorded compared to the preceding 12 months. Libya makes an appearance within the top 10, likely due to the culmination of the Battle of Sirte at the end of 2016 to reclaim the region from the Islamic State. Iraq maintained its classification as the deadliest country in terms of non-militant fatalities, despite remaining in 3rd place in terms of attacks. Iraq and Syria together accounted for 45% of all fatalities, a significant decrease from 54% last year, reflecting the decline of Islamic State activities in the region. Although Egypt is absent from the top 10 by number of attacks, it saw the 10th highest non-militant fatalities due to armed and suicide bomb attacks targeting the Coptic Christians in Adwa, Alexandria, Tanta, and El Arish. Turkey fell off the list from its position as fifth deadliest in the preceding 12 months, highlighting increased security presence and increased pressure on the PKK in the east, stifling militant capabilities. Ukraine's absence in the top 10 chart for non-militant fatalities is indicative of the relatively static nature of the conflict in the east of the country between government forces and pro-Russia separatist militants. That concludes my element of the presentation, and I'll now hand it over to my colleague, Matt.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Now I'm going to cover key developments in the Islamic State's worldwide armed campaign over the past 12 months, principally focusing in on the group's territorial disintegration in Iraq and Syria, and briefly assessing the consequences of this, both locally and internationally. In the past 12 months, the Islamic State has faced a near incessant series of setbacks and defeats in Iraq and Syria, being forced from nearly all major territorial holdings. The map currently on screen shows the group's territorial control in October 2016, followed by how this has changed 12 months later. Adversaries across several different fronts, the contraction of the Islamic State's territorial presence has also intensified over this period, illustrated by the fact that the territory controlled by the group has decreased by more than 60% since the start of 2017 alone. In terms of its operational capabilities, the tempo of attacks conducted by the group in the past 12 months and the resultant fatalities are indicative of the operational transformation that the group is undergoing as a consequence of these territorial losses. Between October 2016 and September 2017, the Islamic State conducted almost 5,500 attacks worldwide, resulting in more than 8,000 non-militant fatalities. This represented an interesting change from the preceding 12 months, comprising a 38.3% increase in attacks, but a more than 21% decrease in underage children have also emigrated to the group's territories alongside these men. Many children of foreign fighters have been born within the Islamic State's caliphate, and these communities and their potential return en masse from the conflict zones present the most significant drivers of Islamist militancy in Europe in the short and over the last 12 months. Next slide, please. So between October 2016 and September of this year, JTIC recorded a total of 65 attacks conducted by non-state armed groups in Northern Ireland. This represented a substantial drop from 113 recorded during the period October 2015 and September 2016. These 65 attacks recorded in this period accounted for 63% of total attacks in the United Kingdom, another drop compared to 85% between 2015 and 16. The attacks recorded resulted in 2 non-militant fatalities, half of the 4 recorded in the last 12 months. And of the attacks recorded in the last 12 months,
presenting on the Rohingya insurgency and attempted militant Islamist appropriation. So on the 9th of October 2016, between 200 and 250 Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, or ARSA militants, killed 9 police officers in a series of coordinated attacks targeting 3 border guard posts, seizing 62 firearms and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The attack marked the outbreak of an insurgency within the region. Following the attack, the ARSA claimed to fight on an ethno-nationalist basis and in defense of Myanmar's estimated 1.1 million Rohingya civilians. On the 25th of August, militants conducted the group's most significant operation since launching the insurgency, when it attacked 30 police posts and a military base, killing 12 members of security forces. Against the backdrop of sharp communal tensions between a Buddhist majority and a large Rohingya Muslim minority, coordinated insurgent attacks from security posts on the border between Myanmar's Rakhine State and Bangladesh have raised alarm both locally and internationally. The sudden eruption of a potential insurgency among the impoverished, politically disenfranchised Rohingya community. We look forward to welcoming you to more online briefings in the future. The next online briefing is entitled The Dragon's Shield, China's Strategic SAM Force, and is being held in a fortnight on the 30th of November. Thank you again very much for attending, and goodbye.